All right, entering on a limit order short for NASDAQ here. This is during the 750, 810 macro for Asia. I'm looking for lower prices. On the 1 minute chart, there's a pair of relative equal lows that I really like. That's directly above the new week opening gap low that we had just formed. So price gap down at open, at 6 p.m. open. And we immediately retraced back up to the new week opening gap consequent encroachment. And we closed above it, traded back down to a lower quadrant, octant, and then traded back up to the new week opening gap consequent encroachment. And then we get closes below it. And I saw that as price trying to, get traders to go long. Whenever you get that gap down, immediately, like, the thought process is, okay, we must fill that gap immediately, we gap down, so like that's we have to fill it, right? Like, and plus, price had been bearish all week, last week, so I could totally see people going long, thinking like, all right, we did the work to the downside, and we're gonna retrace back up. And again, we eventually, after I had gotten out of this trade, price did retrace back up, but I thought that price would want to move towards those relative equal lows first before doing anything to the upside. So entered 2 contracts short on that mitigation block. I believe it was at the bottom or 1 tick below it. And I'm also using a 15-second chart just to kind of gauge, order flow and on the smaller time frames, just to see imbalances. And I'm also using the quadrants and octants. So this is from ICT's new 2026 mentorship, and he uses them. He's shown to use them on new week opening gaps and regular trading hour opening range gaps. So I haven't used them too much. I've just used them in hindsight for studying purposes, but they do work. You see a lot of reactions to these levels, and PD arrays that form on these levels. And if you kind of combine that with like these macro times, it works. So I had essentially, that mitigation block formed close to that lower quadrant, and that's what I use for my entry. And one of my partials is the lower octant of that new week opening gap. So saw that as a nice partial placement. But yeah, so these octants and quadrants, they do work. I mean, you have to make sure they're used in the right context, but I've only used them on new week opening gaps, new day opening gaps, and regular trading hour opening range gaps. I haven't used them in live trading, but I've gone back and seen examples, and they work. So this is, I believe, this might have been my first time trading with them, with these octants and quadrants. But yeah, anyway, you'll see how we're about to take this partial on the lower octant. I'm just annotating a 15-second fair value gap there. I want price to stay below it. And there's our first partial. And I think the biggest takeaway of this trade, the biggest thing I'm kind of taking note of, is how we reacted at that lower octant. So obviously I have those relative equal lows below for my terminus, below that lower octant, but price never makes it down there. And look at the reaction that price has at that lower octant. We pierce it, and we fail to close below it. And I don't know. That's just not by. When I see that's not by like chance. That's definitely algorithmic. Um, it's just really cool to see. It's just for me, it's fascinating. I mean, I find this stuff so fascinating. The way price reacts at some of these levels, and so. But all right. Anyway, back to the trade. We failed to push below that lower octant, and we trade back up to that 15-minute fair value gap that I have that I've annotated in red there. Looking for closes below, and for price to continue towards our sell side objective. And I had moved my stop directly above that lower quadrant level and above that 15-second bearish fair value gap. So I see that as like my line in the sand. It's a PD array kind of, attached to a quadrant level. To me, that is I want that to act like a brick wall. I don't want price, if price moves back up and trades above that, I'm not interested in this trade anymore. And you see us kind of flirt with that lower octant a little bit, but we never get a close below it. So just something to kind of, that I'm taking note of. Again, I'm new with these octants and quadrants, but I think I'm gonna have a lot of fun with them this year and going forward. And this reaction I don't really like. I'll get stopped out soon here. And there we go. That's all she wrote.